Welcome everybody. I hope they start this time correctly, because I tried this an hour ago because I was too bloody stupid to read the timetable. So, as you may notice on that little thingy there, Legion is actually streamed on the GenCon main stage, which should point to bigger things, I hope. But still recovering from that dreadful X-Wing stream, I'm seeing it's the same host and they're having again bloody lots of paper in front of them. Let's just hope this one goes a bit smoother. For those who hadn't been there, the X-Wing stream was rather dull and boring. And yeah, not so much fun. I'm hoping this one will be better. Cheers, y'all. Yeah, but the X-Wing was especially bad. The other ones were mediocre. Well, this is going to be exciting, I hope. If they don't focus too much on any point cost changes that may or may not happen. They've been very conservative on that side, thankfully. Not too many adjustments. The occasional errata, or typo fixing, but that's okay, I think. In the grand scheme of things, no pages long. What were they called on 40k? Those articles in the White Dwarf making adjustments every month. Can't think of them now. God, what was they called? Yeah, to be honest, I'm not holding my breath for anything really exciting new they're showing off. They're probably going a little bit more in depth on the planned way to use the new shiny toys they are promoting, which sadly is all Clone Wars era, so not very much on my veins. But well, we'll see. They had some streams to practice. Maybe this one will go a little bit smoother. Oh, and maybe, just maybe, I should unmute them.
Everybody, and welcome to our Star Wars Legion live stream for GenCon Online 2020. We're actually a very special event today. We're coming at you from the GenCon main stage, so thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is BK. I'm here with a couple guests. We got Luke Eddy, Star Wars Legion developer, and sculpting lead Corey DeVore. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah, same.
Excited
Awesome.
to be here.
Yeah, all right.
Well,
thanks for joining me today. We've got some exciting stuff to cover today. Obviously, a few days ago on Wednesday.
Well, I don't think a Mandalorian Season 2 trailer would be a rumor, since they always said it would be at the end of the year, a second season.
We have the Anakin Skywalker Commander expansion. We have the Darth Maul and Sith Probe Droids operative expansion for the Separatists. And then I know many people have been waiting for these other two expansions for a while, for both the Republic and the Separatists. We're getting a couple specialists expansions, so it's going to bring a lot of new versatility to your armies. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about these expansions, just right off the bat here, Luke?
Oh, just off the cuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I think all four of these things were kind of like a long time coming, I guess.
Yeah.
Like things we'd planned on doing for a while, and in our schedule we got to the point where so this would
He's
be
the bloody
kind
lead
of
designer,
roughly
and he
wave
goes
9
by
of Legion. In our schedule we're like, all right, what's, we have some other, exciting things coming after these, of course, but we had this wave right here where we're like, oh, what should we slot in here? And I was very adamant that we needed to hit a couple, like, fan favorites, almost.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
Fan service or like, player requested types of units. And two obvious characters for our new factions.
Well, to be
Gotta have
honest, I
Anakin,
like the
gotta have
design
Darth
they
Maul,
showed
two of
with
the
the
coolest
Darth
characters.
Maul. He's a
And then
very
just for the
nice
gameplay,
character, and
what it
I'm
does for gameplay for
tempted
those two
to get
factions are the
myself
specialist
a
packs. So these are both things that are
young
kind of like
Obi-Wan Kenobi in a Darth
things we
Maul
needed to
just
get
to
out
make
there, wanted
a
to get
little
out there for the new
diorama.
factions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, so Clone Wars, we've been slowly kind of filling in. We started off, obviously, in the Clone Wars core set. You had Obi-Wan and Grievous, General Grievous, as the commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Dooku now for Separatists. We've got Captain Rex.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got, actually, Cad Bane and Padme were just released a couple weeks ago for Operatives.
Mm-hmm.
But now, yeah, we're like, all right, let's get, I mean, I'm sure, like, Anakin and Maul, probably right up there on the top of everybody's, like, wish list. For,
Oh.
They were on the top of our list.
Okay, yeah. So you yourself were kind of like ready to go.
Oh
with
yeah,
this,
I mean sometimes what we put out is a little bit selfish. We kind of just want to do what we want to do sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I mean let's start getting into these expansions, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And before we do, I just want to tell everybody watching at home because we are on the GenCon main stage. I'm looking at that chat right here. I know we got. We're hosting chats from a couple different places, but if you do have any questions, I personally am looking at the GenCon main stage chat, so make sure you ask your questions in there.
You should look at chat.
So yeah,
you
let's
should
jump in.
look
Let's
at your
talk
notes
about
and
Anakin Skywalker.
do a
It's
decent
new
moderation.
Commander expansion, the second Jedi commander. So we're starting to get a few more Force users in the game here. Obviously, the other one, as we just said, was Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is a little bit more defensively minded, perhaps. He has the Sarisu Mastery.
Mm-hmm.
He has Guardian 3. Anakin, maybe a little bit more offensive-minded, perhaps.
Yes, Anakin is definitely a more.
Go ahead, ask them. You won't get any answer. I'm pretty sure. It would be a miracle if they would address that online and live.
With those characters. But generally speaking,
That would be a
Anakin
hot
is
top
way
they won't
more
be jumping in.
offensively minded. And even we'll tease some of his effects and abilities. Even his defensive abilities are more offensive than other characters.
Yeah, that's right. So, pretty much at this point, like every
Probably not,
Force
no.
character has had some sort of mastery of a form of lightsaber combat, right?
Right, yeah, all of the Force-wielding characters from
And I have
the
to say,
prequel era
the
that we've done
paint
so
jobs
far,
on the demo
we've each given them a
models have
special
gotten
ability
better
that is
a lot.
representative of their unique lightsaber mastery. So Anakin has the Jim So mastery ability, which will be a new ability. And Jim So is traditionally, like the Sarisu mastery that Obi-Wan has is just like the best defense. Defend as best as you possibly can. Jim So mastery is where you're also defensive, but your defense, the whole point of it, is to then turn it into
Hold on a
an
sec,
attack
I'll
on
be
your
right
opponent
back.
or damage
I'll leave
to
the
your
stream
opponent.
on.
So, so it gives Anakin some different sort of flavor there than the other characters.
Yeah, he kind of turns around those attacks on him. And is like, I'm just coming right back
Right,
at
you
you.
hit me, I'm gonna hit you.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of episode 3 where they're at the very beginning dueling Dooku a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, Anakin kind of rushes in there.
Yeah.
It's too early.
So yeah, one of the other cool things about Anakin, obviously he fights for the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people probably have noticed that the sculpt, and we're actually going to come to Corey here in just a couple minutes to talk about the sculpt, is very kind of Revenge of the Sith sculpt, where he is maybe starting to get tempted by the dark side a little bit. Does that kind of play into how he plays as a commander?
Yeah, it does absolutely. And I think something to note too is, even though we've depicted a Revenge of the Sith Anakin, this outfit that he wears, he starts wearing in the Clone Wars at about season 2. By season 3, he's not really wearing his Clone Wars armor anymore. Yeah. He switches to this sort of just tunic look much earlier than Obi-Wan does. I don't know what it says about those characters. Again, perhaps Obi-Wan a little more defensive than Anakin is. But something we wanted to do with the design of Anakin is have him sort of represent his character throughout the Clone Wars. So throughout the Clone Wars, you sort of see him both build in power, become a more powerful Force user, and definitely a more powerful lightsaber combatant, even more so than he is a Force user.
Yes.
And then you also see him, as you said, start to slip.
What did I miss?
towards the
Nothing.
dark side. And
Still
those
on the
scenes
same
there
slide.
even before
Oh, this
episode
is
3.
This is boding not
and
well.
So, as John Schaefer talked about, hinted at just a little bit during our in-flight report, Anakin is actually going to grow in power as you play him in a game of Legion.
Yeah, and in fact, we actually have one of his command cards
Excuse
here.
an old man.
Yeah, if we get that up on the
Yeah,
screen.
and then we want to show people Hero of the Clone Wars. This kind of shows off kind of that notion of how he builds in power like throughout a game, right?
Exactly, yeah. So for, this has a couple keywords on here, which I'll point out what they are. Permanent being the main one there. So permanent is a new, relatively new keyword that we saw a little bit in the Padme Amidala expansion. And what permanent means is after you've played this card, it sticks around. Normally command cards are discarded at the end of the round in which they are played and their effects end. Permanent just means this card is never automatically discarded on its own. So it just stays out in play. So the card itself is Anakin Skywalker gains Exemplar and Reliable 2. Exemplar means that friendly units at range 1, I believe, can use some of Anakin's tokens.
Yes.
And Reliable 2 means at the start of each round, he's going to get 2 surge tokens. So automatically, he's going to have some tokens to share with units around him. It sort of represents like, you know, he was a leader in the Clone Wars, leading by example. You know, and sort of his energy, sort of a lot of other troops and things fed off of that energy. Now, the downside, though, is, as you can see at the end of the activation, he's not at range 1 to 2 of a friendly unit. He gains 1 suppression token.
Yes.
So that's Anakin sort of like, when he's off on his own, he doesn't have his buddies, doesn't have Obi-Wan, doesn't have Padme, kind of reining him in a little bit. You know, he starts to sort of accrue, you know, I guess, in some cases,
That
you know,
card
maybe
seems
some
to
affinity for the
be a
dark
bit
side.
overpowered.
Maybe,
You know,
yeah.
or
It's
even
permanent,
just
you play it at the
what it
first
will
turn.
represent in game is the more suppression he has, the less control
That's
the player will
bad
have over that
for your
unit.
opponent.
And not only is the art on this card really good,
It's incredible.
yeah, but this also kind of gives players an idea of what his other command cards are like, perhaps, right? They all
Right.
kind of have permanent on them, so they're going to give him
Yep.
abilities throughout the game, and they all have this kind of drawback, correct?
Yes, so we are only spoiling one command card
That's
today.
right,
You'll
yeah.
have to look forward to the other ones in future preview articles.
Yep.
But we will say right now that every single one of his command cards has permanent. It gives him some keywords, and it has a drawback. So depending on what keywords those cards have, there's like, you kind of want to play them before you need them, or like maybe you want to play this one on this turn for the specific reason, but then the pip value is sort of dictated by what you want to do. So there's more powerful ones like this, Hero of the Clone Wars, that boost your whole forces, have a lower pip value. You know, and his ones that are more centered on just himself acting have that lower pip value. So there's some give and take there, and some interesting decision making about, you know, what
Well, that
abilities you power
surely
him up
will
with
make
first,
some
and sort of anticipating
fun
engagements. But yeah, once you
planning
have
on
all of his
events.
cards in play, he has a ton more of abilities and just is this crazy force to be reckoned with on the battlefield.
Yeah, it seems like a real interesting. You really have to think about the timing of his cards. I mean, obviously, there's times where you want priority, but you also maybe like want some of his abilities
Right,
a little bit.
yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it seems real cool. I'm like real excited about that.
Oh yeah, he's a lot of fun to play.
I think it's also
man, I
a
had
very
to
bad
transition
sign
to
that the
another
Legion
question.
stream
Oh,
on
yeah,
the main
so
stage of
in addition
GenCon
to his
has
command
less
cards,
viewers than the
obviously we
X-Wing
showed
stream
off the
had.
kind of the product
I
spread the other day on
really
the
Yeah,
would
that
report.
very
like to
sneaky
go
product
into
spread.
Yes, yeah. And
their
a
back
lot
end
of
and see
fans
what
at home,
numbers
perhaps,
they have.
you know, a few people in chat are asking about this. They noticed this other card that has this
Yeah, what's
kind of
that,
thing.
guys?
Yeah. How much do you want to say about that, Luke?
Well, I mean, we'll acknowledge that they noticed it, obviously, and
Yeah.
it is intentionally there, and it is a brand new type of card you've never seen before. And I won't get into any real specific details about mechanics or anything, but it is a card that represents Anakin's flaw, that represents sort of his sort of turn to the dark side and the
They have a card for his
it's
bad
the Emperor,
acting?
of course. Well, not the Emperor at that point. Chancellor Palpatine.
Yes.
Sort of taking Anakin aside and sort of sowing these seeds of doubt in Anakin's mind. And so Anakin, as I said,
I do have to say I
his
like
permanent
their
command cards, but also through
weird
this, becomes
triangle
more
shaped
difficult for
gaming
the player
table.
to control. And this flaw
That's a real
card
plus
is what we're calling it.
for
You give
streaming.
it to your opponent at the start of the game.
Having the
And it's your
people
opponent
sitting
who
in
then
an
has the
angle
opportunity to
to
play
the
that card against you
playing
and sort
area.
of, you
area.
know, influence Anakin. in
It's
this
getting late.
Okay, so is it kind of like a command card for your opponent?
It is
or-
like a command card,
Okay.
but it is not technically a command card. It's a new type of card. It'll be played during the command phase, but it doesn't replace playing a command card.
Okay, so if you're going to play, you would play this card, and then you would also play your own command card if you're playing against it.
Adding cards.
Well, it will depend on the card.
Oh, sure,
So
okay,
this
yeah.
is a mechanic that we're going to have more of in the future with other characters who, perhaps they have some sort of personal flaw.
Starting
or
to
perhaps they
complicate
have
the
some sort of
systems.
sympathy from
Are
the
we?
other side.
Okay.
So we're going to see more of this, and the cards themselves will just tell you exactly when you play it. It'll go into play like a command card, stay in play for the duration of that round, and then be discarded and just given back to the player who owns it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, all right. So, real excited to delve more deeply into that. Obviously, as you said, we'll see all of his command cards. We'll see this other new quad card in future preview. So stay tuned for that. Corey, let's actually jump over to you. Let's talk about these Anakin sculpts here.
Yeah.
So Anakin, he comes in. You can build him in 2 different poses. And one of the things that's really cool to me, and obviously we'll talk about Maul here in a little bit, but both of them come with 2 different head options, which I think is probably the first time we've... I mean, I know with like clones we have like different helmets and things, but...
We started actually, we actually did this with Cad Bane. There's 2 head options with,
that's
with
right.
2 expressions, one with a hat, one without. But after doing that, we were like, we should
now I
do more
see
of
what
this.
the difference
Because
is.
also
The
with Anakin,
left one
it's
is
fitting to
smirking
have
and
a
the
couple
other
expressions.
one
There's
is
a lot of
looking
intense,
rather serious.
Anakin facial expressions that Hayden Christensen does throughout episode 3 and even episode 2. And also at the same time, he's also kind of this lovable kind of he's him
Real
and Obi-Wan.
cocksure, yeah.
They're charismatic, and both kind of fun.
Anakin Skywalker is a lovable
Even though Obi-Wan
character in the
usually
Clone
complains
Wars
about it, he
series,
does the
not
same
in
stuff
the
anyway.
movies.
So they get along. They have fun. And so you kind of get that 2 sides of Anakin, and which was also kind of part of why we did some of the posing choices that we did.
Questions for the 3 people
I
in
felt it
chat.
was really strong.
Warren asked me to invite him
me and
over to
the
Hobby
sculptor
Hangout.
is Robert.
Is that a good idea?
We really wanted to
What
push
do
the
you
difference
think?
between him and Obi-Wan. Like the fact that Obi-Wan is more defensive, even though, again, this seems like a defensive pose, but it's about like a certain amount of like rage and build up before a charge, right? We didn't want to just do a running pose or something, although we thought about it. So what we kind of ended up with was just this kind of intense. This was kind of the first one we started with, and then we wanted to open it up and do something a little more.
It's nice that he's
like
showing the mini on the
Obi-Wan might do
table,
or
but
something
there's
that
no
Obi-Wan
bloody
would've
camera
taught necessarily.
showing the mini
Something that just makes him
he's
have,
pointing at.
A little.
This
more
big
of an
screen
open
mode
pose,
is
right?
pointless.
Versus this kind of closed off and angry thing. And of course, you have that angry, intense face, and you've also got the cocky smile. A little bit of on the side of the face.
I was gonna say, like, it almost, we were talking with Luke here about how Anakin is this kind of conflicted character, and I feel like that kind of comes through in the sculpts almost, where you have like one pose where he's more defensive, kind of like Anakin, or not, I'm sorry, he is Anakin, like Obi-Wan, who has is more defensive character himself. And then you have the more open, kind of more offensive, like I'm going to kind of go on the attack and really kind of lay into you, right?
Nope, yeah, they definitely conflict to the extent that there's like 2 separate torsos because the arms are so extreme, you can't just like have a hole here. So, yes, they definitely conflict, but it's fun. You should be pretty fun to assemble, and you have some cool options.
Yeah, this is like a perfect like Jem So pose where it's like that block is only because he's going to hit you back as soon as he counters you.
Yeah, he's ready to just like nail you when you come in at him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
I
have
remember,
about 2
Rob, the
pixels
sculptor,
worth
just
of images
pouring
showing.
over
Maybe use
videos
another
from
camera for a
the
top
movies
down,
and the
like
Clone
you
Wars
use
TV
in your
show
games.
of Anakin fighting to like work on these poses.
Yeah, and it's like you want to give him something unique, but also. I don't know. It's hard to find options, and it's like hard to also. A lot of his poses are so unique that it's like you can't get a second option if you wanted one, and so it's just a challenge. But I really love what we ended up with. I can't imagine a lot of characters that we would do that kind of intense 2-hand thing, rushing forward. So it's exciting.
like the Vader you've done for Imperial Assault.
There
It
are
is
quite a
exactly
few
the
Jedi.
same pose.
They all wear similar robes and things. But probably one of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just making assumptions here about sculpting. But one of the things you probably want to try and convey their unique personality in the sculpts. And what were some of the ways, in addition to kind of the poses, one of the cool things that I noticed is like Anakin has like the scar on his face even in there, like
Yeah.
a little bit. So how did you try and like, versus like Obi-Wan, for example, how did you try and like kind of get his personality in there a little bit more?
Well, definitely the scar, and also his outfit is really unique to him. Even though it's very similar in cut and like style to like what Obi-Wan wears. Obi-Wan is like very famous for his like kind of soft, like knitted robe that is very rounded on the shoulders and very like it kind of hugs him and it's very like loose. But Anakin, he's basically wearing a similar outfit, but the paneling is not robe; it's actually like leather. So it's very pointy in the corners,
Yes.
and it's very.
Leather
It's
and
also a little
lace and the
starchier, so
Star
it's like
Wars
it's a little more
universe.
firm in the
Who would have
crossbones
thought?
and stuff. Didn't want to make it as, billowy, and I think that what it does is it kind of gives him this like a kind of not evil, but like he's
He's a
got
bad boy.
yeah, he's got like a little bit of this this silhouette that comes through, and I feel like it was really important that we made sure that his robes it felt like the right material. And it felt like it came across that silhouette that he has, and he stands brooding.
Sure,
his
yeah.
shoulders popped out. It's unique to him, and no other Jedi has it. They usually have the Obi-Wan style, like
Yeah.
soft robes.
15 minutes on one.
Yeah, that's really cool.
1
Yeah, I
miniature.
didn't think about that. So. Before we move on to the Republic Specialist, I actually want to come back over to Luke. So we're getting a few questions in the chat about this.
I'll answer a few.
Yeah. But so one of the big things, and I think we talked about this yesterday. What's going to be the points cost of a guy like Anakin? We talked. He's like kind of like high risk, high reward.
I did say I'd maybe reveal some points cost.
Yep.
No, and I think especially in some of these new factions, like clones, obviously, a lot of them have expensive units, so you need like to think about like how am I going to fit this in my army. And the other side, the droids have so many cheap units. You're like, well, how many? Like,
Oh
they
look,
can put
they
them in
have a
there.
close-up camera.
So Anakin
Who would have
is
thought?
designed as a high risk, high reward character because his power level builds over the start of the game, or over the course of the game.
Talking
meaning
and
at the
pointing
start,
for
he's a lower
15
power
minutes
level.
over 2
He's gonna
models
clock in
and
at
not showing the
160.
close-ups.
Base cost of
Pretty
160.
reasonable. Yeah.
No, you
15
need to
points less
show
than
the
Obi-Wan, I
bloody
believe.
renders.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So
Mhm.
yeah, kind of got some options there, different possibilities for maybe powering him up.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah,
there's
by the
permanent
end,
card.
by the
Yep.
end of the game, if you've gotten all his command cards in play, he is worth a lot more than 160.
160. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All
Mhm.
right. So I think
Next.
that's probably a good place to end talking about Anakin. You guys
Yeah.
want to talk about some Republic Specialists?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Republic Specialists, very cool. Obviously there's a lot of similarities to the Rebel and Imperial Specialists, but there's also some pretty important differences, I would say. One of the things that I saw kind of the reaction to the other day, right after the in-flight report, was are these guys like? So we have the echoing the other ones. We have clone commander in there.
Mhm.
We have a clone engineer in there.
Mhm.
Clone medic and a
Mhm.
clone comms technician.
Yes.
So the same upgrades that can go in those personnel
The
slots.
same ones you've come to know and love.
Yep, but there's maybe like the medic and the engineer. Are those guys going to be non-combatants like they were in the other ones?
Well, would it make sense for a clone running around with a gun to be a non-combatant?
I don't think so.
No. So the clone engineer,
Engineer
and the
wasn't
clone
a
medic,
non-combatant.
both do not have the non-combatant keyword. That was a keyword on the other medics.
Well, yes, it
and
was with the
engineers
droid, the bloody
for
thing.
the. Oh, thank you, Ryan. For the Rebel and Imperial
Here
medic.
be
and
camera.
So the clones don't have that
Oh,
keyword. They're
guys,
combatants.
you do
They
this
can fight.
shit before us
Um,
in stream.
To balance that, though, instead of
Oh,
like
is
the other
it
engineers and
possible?
medics healing 2 wounds, the clone medic and the clone engineer will each heal 1 wound.
How
Okay,
is
yeah.
this
So
possible?
not quite as powerful in their personnel effects, but they can fire
Right,
back.
but they
Yep.
actually are adding attack dice to the attacks that the unit is making.
Interesting. All right. And so with the clone commander, and we'll
I'm
obviously
losing
get into
faith
this a
by
little
the
bit more, talk about
minute.
the Separatist, the T-Series tactical droid that comes with the Separatist specialist.
Yeah, that boy.
But these guys, again, very similar to their counterparts with the Rebel and Imperial. they come with actually some newer keywords.
Yeah,
And they
I
have
wish
a little
that
bit,
was
just
an actual
slightly higher cost.
translucent
Well,
plastic,
5
but I think
points.
it's just
Yeah,
painted.
5 points.
So
Yeah.
we want to reveal the cost of these guys too, because
Yep.
again, it's fun to think about
Also,
how they might play
they've
in
got
your
studio
army. So,
painted miniatures. Why don't
actually,
they show
both the
those
clone
off
and
on
the
stream? Why
T-Series
do they
tactical
use
droid
those generic
commanders
grey,
for your armies will be 55 points.
Okay.
Nice,
fresh
nice
from
and
the sprue?
inexpensive. Again, only 5 points more
Yeah.
than the Rebel and Imperial ones. The stats on the clone commander are considerably better than the Rebel and Imperial ones. You'll have red armor saves, like other clones, and a better gun too.
Yep.
So you can look forward to that. But as you alluded to, they also have, they don't share the exact same keywords as the Rebel and Imperial ones. So you can look forward to 2 brand new keywords that they have that were specifically
more keywords
designed
to
for
remember.
synergy with the faction that you find them in.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, just a slight tick up in points, but
Yeah,
worth it for the benefits that you get for
very
those 5
worth it.
extra
I
points.
think,
Yeah.
I think more so than the Rebel and Imperial ones, which the Rebel and Imperial ones, taking one of those in place of any other commander.
I
sort of
think I
has a
will
bit of a
go on
cost to it.
Tuesday
They're
to
not
my
that points efficient.
friendly local game
Whereas
store
these guys,
that's
we
going
wanted,
to closing now
players to fully
to
be
see
able to have a competitive
what's
army
left and then
with
pick up
just a
some
clone
Legion
commander
pieces.
Or just a T-series
Who
tactical.
knows? A laughing
these guys
boy
perform quite
raid
well.
with a party of 3.
Nice. And
Right.
obviously, in addition to the specialists you're going to get in this pack,
You missed
the other
my
big thing that people are
very
looking
nice,
forward to are 3 command cards.
Right, yeah, the generic
Faction
little
Yeah.
movie I
Generic
have,
command cards
especially
for
when they do
the
these dudes
particular
take too
faction.
long. Take a
And so
look
we're
at
gonna
it.
show off the 1 pip for the Republic with the synchronized offensive, which is pretty cool. It really kind of helps you do maybe get some vehicles going. Obviously, you have the saber tank.
Yep.
You have and upcoming stuff. We have the Republic ATRT that's coming up here in just a little bit.
No, they're a bit more fluent
and, yeah,
than
so tell
on
me
the
a little bit
X-Wing
more. What's
stream,
going
I
on
have to
with the
say.
synchronized offensive?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the 1 pips that these 2 factions got for the generic cards. So if you recall the Rebel and Imperial ones, if you're familiar with those, the different sort of 1, 2, and 3 pips sort of played with what rank they order issues to. These ones are going to play with what type of unit they issue orders to. So the 1 pips are there to encourage players to utilize vehicles, and they're very good 1 pips. Being able to, as the card says,
Yes,
after
laughing
friendly
boy,
vehicles issue
you
an
did it
order,
again. No,
choose a
wrong.
friendly
What?
clone
No,
trooper at
what
range
are you
1 or 2
referring
and
to?
issue that unit in order. That, for the clones,
The raid
means setting up
is,
those fire support attacks, where a clone
in my
trooper
chat
with a face
as
support
a
token
raid
can
from
add
Laughing
its
Boy.
dice
So I
to the
think you've
attack
done
that
it
another
right.
unit is making. In this case, probably the vehicle that's near it. So this effect right here specifically sets
I'm
up
always bored,
that
Tuffy.
sort
That's
of
my
1-2
problem.
punch with a 1 pip. So you may, that may be your alpha strike, so to speak. But you need a vehicle in order to do it. And I think that actually fits well with the generic
Trouble is,
commanders
I love
because
Legion,
taking
but I
generic
don't play
commanders,
Clone
putting
Wars,
less
so this
points
is
on
more or less
your commander,
pearls before
character, and you have
swines.
more points left over to spend on vehicles, on a bunch of ATRTs.
Though,
or
if
on
we are
182
starting
saber
tournaments
tanks.
again, I
So
should need
it
to know
synergizes
some
well
of
with
these
what you might be
things
doing
to
with that
be
generic
aware
command.
of
Okay,
potential
yeah, so,
traps.
I mean, you're spending less points, obviously, on the commander, so you can fit these bigger vehicles in there. People call me out. I forgot to mention the Bark in terms of that. Also a Republic vehicle
Yes,
that is
it also
available.
works with the Bark. Yeah, well, the Bark's flying around though. It might be a little harder to set up, but that Bark still converts surges, so it's a good fire support platform.
Yeah, so it does synergize very nicely with kind of like existing Republic abilities,
Yep.
fire support, things like that. You can, if you really want to hit something pretty hard, you can hit it with the saber tank and a unit of clones.
Unit
perhaps.
of clones with like a Z6, yeah, that's a mean shot right there.
That's
and
a
you
lot
can
of
get it
dice.
off. You can get it off with a 1 pip.
The best thing
which
you
couldn't do with any
not
other
have
1 pip
missed when
because
just jumping
traditionally a
in
1
was
pip
the
only orders,
adjustment of the
a
detail
order
camera
token
they
to
did
1
live
unit,
on stream.
and to fire support, the clone unit
Was
needs to have an order token. And if it's a 1 pip, that's
And
your
I
1
always
token.
make
You don't
sure
have
that
the
my
other unit
cameras
ready to
are
go to
correctly
activate as well.
aligned just
So by giving
before.
out 2
See
orders
those
essentially
little
with a 1
tapes
pip,
on the
it lets you
floor?
set
They
that up.
stuck
Yes,
those
okay,
on
very
just
nice, yeah.
now live
All
on
these
stream,
things, yeah, see.
so that
Seems
they
like
know where to
development,
put their
Yeah, this is
miniatures
what
to
we
be
did.
shown
You
off.
gotta think about these things.
A little bit.
Cool. All right, yeah. So Corey, let's talk about these sculpts. I love these sculpts. Obviously, the first thing that I noticed, probably the first thing that everybody else noticed, was this little clone commander right here. This guy right here. He's got the little hologram, which looks so cool. Tell me more about that. How did you guys do that?
Yeah, that
Like every other
that was
detail,
kind of
they
my.
sculpted
So as soon
it.
as someone was like, "Well, we got
You
generic
moron.
commander pose or generic commander option," and we talked about having. Like, one thing that we want to do is make sure people have options for these generic commanders too, because sometimes you can take more than one, or just like there's going to be more than one at the table. And
Trick
you wanna make sure
questions.
that you're not
Are
just
there
running, like, the
generic
same
commanders for
looking figure
clones
across
because
each other.
they're basically
So,
all the same?
I was
Even
like,
the
well, I need a
clones,
couple
the
options,
commanders
and the first one that I wanted to
themselves?
do, and I'd thought about before, I was like, I love, like, when Commander Cody or whoever pops out the little hologram, and I was like, let's see if someone will let me do it, because I was not sure, because it's so tiny. And
So there's
I,
the
I
little
went for it,
hologram,
and I made it as
and
big
we
as
all
it
know
had
what
to
that
be for
means.
production, and it is so small.
Execute
It's so small.
Yeah.
It has
orders.
detail.
It has
66.
detail. It looks. You can tell it's a clone.
It's
He's
a
got his
little
little
clone,
gun.
yeah.
He's got his little gun, and it's awesome. It shouldn't be too crazy to paint, honestly. Like, cause
You just paint it blue
Yeah,
and
just
then
paint it
give
like
it
a little blue,
little
yeah.
white highlights, and
a
then
little dry brush or something, and so he was a lot of fun to pitch, and of course I wanted a couple other options, like him holding his own helmets, which, by the way, this is true for all of these, but they all have Phase 2 and Phase 1 options, as well as the helmet that he's holding in his arm has a Phase 2 and a Phase 1 option. So
That's right. Yeah.
and helmetless heads.
and,
All four of
and
them.
helmetless heads. They
Well,
all
that's
have
a lot of
they all have
heads
3
for
heads.
just 4 minis.
So
Like
yeah,
that.
that was a lot of fun
Good.
to get that, and everyone loved it as soon as they saw it. I was like, oh, I don't have to convince you. Great, awesome.
Rock and roll. Yeah. So are these production copies of the minis?
These
or-
are test shots. Yeah, these are actual like shots of plastic from the factory. So
Nice. Okay. Cool. So
The real deal.
yeah,
Real deal.
Nice taste of things to come, perhaps.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you already kind of talked about how they each have a few different options and different helmets, and they can also go helmetless, which is very cool.
You can
I think,
even see
again,
on the one in the back.
everybody at home, they
There's
don't miss
still
a thing.
some pieces of the
I
screw
believe there's
hanging
one
off
that
his
kind of has like a
arm he's
mohawk,
holding in front
Yeah.
of his
which is
face.
really cool.
I was lucky
That's
enough
nice.
to do these ones. and
Still,
so
I
was
would
like, well,
prefer
yeah,
that
a couple
painted
more
one
hair-
they have
hair-
shown off
hairdos.
in the
We gotta do some more
pictures.
hairdos. So yeah, there's 2 kind of classic clone, the Tamora Morrison hair from episode 2, and then there's a mohawk, and then there's just like the buzz cut, which a lot of them have in Clone Wars and such. So trying to get a couple other things in there, and I'm definitely excited about that.
Very cool, yeah. And what are some of the other options for? I mean, obviously the commander himself, very cool. What are some of the other options for the other guys down here?
So each one of this guy mostly just has the backpack is technically optional, but mostly he's just helmet options. He's the engineer. He's got a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 unique gunner helmet, which we used for that guy, and then the medic and the comms tech back here each also have just holding a gun. Like, so
Okay.
you can actually turn them into and take their backpacks off and such. Like, this guy's backpack is just magneted on, it doesn't have straps, so you can actually just turn them into vanilla clone troopers that if you want to swap into your other units just to spice up the look, give them some backpacks,
So,
so you have
FFG's
flexibility. You don't just have to use that model if you just want more variety from your
What's
other
the
clones
bloody word I'm
and
looking
so
for?
on.
Is
Sure.
upping its
And as we were
game
talking about earlier,
in regards of
these
modeling.
guys all are like ready to contribute to the unit if they're firing at something. So it can just
Yeah.
be like a nice alternate option in that way as well, right?
Exactly. So whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I love that the medic here has the little data pad unique to the Clone Wars series that we see characters using.
Yeah. No, that was this. And we were kind of looking at, like, is it Kix? Is his name?
Yeah, the medic, yeah,
Kix.
yeah.
He's the medic, and he just always has that backpack, and he's pretty much just like a vanilla clone trooper, except for that backpack and his coloring. But I was like, we need to get something. We need to do something to like make him just actually look like he's checking vitals,
Doing a thing, yeah.
Because the clones are not always depicted with tools,
Yeah.
as often. Like the engineer has.
Oh yeah, the hydrospan.
He has like a hydrospanner on his leg, and so it's just trying to get those little things that
Yeah.
help push it over and say, oh yeah, they have
Tuffy,
tools.
behave.
Like they actually are going to do something,
Yeah.
He's not just a crouching stormtrooper. He's checking vitals,
Yeah.
and you can pay him like Kix if you want.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of
This
nice
is a
cool little details in there really
child-friendly
kind of
show,
help. Like,
I think.
this is what this
Well,
mini
maybe
actually
not.
does
Yep.
Yeah.
in battle. So
Yeah,
Very cool.
I'm a big fan of the details that the clone commander has on his armor, because it's not just because like what is it? He's got a comma, he's got the shoulder antenna, he's got the helmet with the visor, and then he's also got the extra like 2-part shoulder strap and pauldron.
Yep.
So it's like 3 different clone commanders combined into one.
Kinda, yeah. We wanted to kind of come up with our own, yeah. And it was like, well, you know, something. Commander Cody has like, it's not just the visor. He's got like a unique chin and cameras and things. And so we were like, well, a visored helmet is nice because that's something that you obviously see as a commander. However, in the TV show and stuff, you see more than one clone with the shoulder antenna, which Cody also
Wolf
has.
one too.
Yep. And then that unique strap that's not like the ARC Trooper pauldron is like the Bark Speeders riders have it. There's a
Yeah,
couple
Nemo
commanders.
and like Baraka, I think.
Yeah, Baraka has it, and so so we just wanted to give him. He's a little bit unique, and
He's kind of our own little boy.
and that shoulder pad is because of the pull direction needs. It actually pops on and off, so you can also give him a vanilla
Oh,
shoulder
nice.
if you want
There you
to
go.
cut off the antenna or whatever you want to do. So he's flexible.
Yep. All right, so we're just over halfway through, so I think it's time to move
Yeah.
on. Let's talk about Maul here, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So we have the Darth Maul and Sith Droids operative expansion for the Separatist Alliance. So Maul, obviously a pretty iconic character with his double-bladed lightsaber. We'll actually have Corey
So
talk
this is a
about,
painted miniature. Why isn't
3
that
different
on the
poses
table?
for him in a little bit. But what do you want to tell us about Maul here, Luke?
Man, what do I want to tell you about Maul? I don't know. What do you want me to say? He was, I mean, like, this was a unit I was super excited to design. Had a lot of
Maybe
thoughts
show the
about,
close-up
like,
cam
you
again,
know,
please.
what his abilities should be and stuff. And I think one of the things that definitely led the design of him was, again, how we've given these prequel characters their own
I love that smirky smile on that
unique
face.
abilities that represent their lightsaber masteries. And Darth Maul has Joyo mastery, which is sort of you sort of take that inner rage and conflict and hatred, you know, the dark side, and you fuel that into the energy in your lightsaber fight.
Yeah,
So,
I can really see a
Maul
diorama
is
coming
just all
with
about being a whirlwind of
Maul.
destruction. Although he does
And
some other
Obi-Wan.
elements too, because when he's not
Well, currently
that,
he
he's
has
also a
still a
sneaky
leg
boy,
to stand
you
on
know,
top of,
so
and later on he has
some
ample
tricks
of
up
them,
his sleeve as well.
at least in the
And,
series.
one of the things that was cool was, I mean, I don't even know at what point in visioning the unit this would have been, but I think someone mentioned like probe droids, and we're like, oh hey, I mean, why not? Let's
Yeah.
just have a unit of Sith. We're not going
What
to
else are
probably
you
get
gonna
around
do?
to doing it, you know, otherwise. And there's such an iconic part of, you know, that first encounter with Maul on Tatooine. You know, you've seen the probe droids sneaking around.
Sound effect.
You know, yep, that noise. Yeah. So, so that was a cool extra thing to sort of develop alongside him as well as this unit of Sith probe droids. And they're their own unit that.
Yeah, they
accompanies
could
Maul.
have done, but I think
Okay, yeah, so actually we're...
maybe
I was about to ask this anyway, and we're getting questions in the chat
using the
about it.
bionic legs
We have the iconic
on this point is a
double-bladed
bit
lightsaber.
Yeah.
bit
which
early in the
helps him,
process. I
roll
can see
quite a
them
few
doing
dice.
that
He rolls
later
a
again
lot of dice.
Yeah, do you want to say how many
as a
dice he
commander
rolls?
with different options.
Okay, good thing we printed off unit cards. Oh yeah, he rolls 8 dice.
Yeah.
So
Wait,
instead of doing,
does he have
Grievous classic multiple
3
lightsabers all
different
over the
stances,
place.
or did they
So
just
he had
model
to have
one
Arsenal
wrong?
2. For a double-bladed lightsaber, Arsenal 2 doesn't that often do a whole lot, because mostly in combat you want to concentrate on one unit. Even though Maul fights multiple opponents, like how he
So
wins that
I'm not
fight is by
imagining
concentrating
things.
on one
That's
person
even
at
more
a time.
nice.
So Maul doesn't really split his attacks. He's like,
So that's
he can
going to
defend against
bring the
multiple
price
people. He
up
wants to focus
to
down on one person.
$30?
So it didn't seem like it was advantageous mechanically or thematically to give the character Arsenal 2.
They
For
mentioned,
those who don't know,
I
even
think they
Arsenal
mentioned
2
the
just means you
prices
combine
of
two levels
these
together.
in the in-flight
You know,
stream.
so we could have
I
represented
can't remember them
double-bladed
now.
lightsaber as 2 different sets of dice on his card, but it made more sense to just combine them together into one 8-dice attack that he has, that he just nails one character with.
Yeah, so he's coming at you.
Oh yeah, he's
Pretty
coming
hard,
at
yeah.
you. Yes.
And so yeah, he also has.
I'm not
another
seeing
couple,
any minis for
keywords that are-
the
talk about just the other few keywords
For
that he
the
has. It's kind
clankless
of
Yeah,
what you would
expansion.
expect for like a Force user, perhaps.
Exactly. He can jump, of course.
It's
we would
weird.
expect that. Same with Anakin. Just got to get that classic Force jump in there. But I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
But I think definitely Maul has some of the most versatile play of any character we've made so far. So you really get that sort of sense of him flowing in combat, and that sort of sense of movement and unpredictability that I think really defines how that character
What I
fights.
would really like is
we're actually
for
gonna
people using
take a
that
look here in just a
model on the
second
table
about,
in
kind of
games
that movement
when they
and
cut it
flow.
in half
But
and magnetize
before we
the upper
do,
body, and when he's dead,
8 dice
simply
attack,
remove
obviously.
the upper
The
part of
Judo
the body
Mastery, a lot of
and leaving
other
the
cool
legs
things.
standing there.
What's the base cost
Oh
of
yeah,
our
so
friend Darth Maul here?
fun fact for you kids at home. So Maul and Anakin have the same cost. Maul is also a sort of a high risk, high reward character. He's very much on the defensive. But if you're not careful, he can get himself into a bad position and die to just concentrated ranged fire. No melee character wants to be in that position. They want to get into the fight. So being a high risk, high reward character was again one of the design goals, because I didn't want to end up with another separatist unit.
I think I have to re-look up those
175,
numbers
200
maybe
plus
later.
points, because as you have too many of those characters, it's hard
If
to
I can be
combine them in the
asked.
same army. Especially as an operative, you need to pay for a commander, even if it is a generic one. So yeah, Maul clocks in at a nice 160 points.
Very nice, yeah.
That's
and
a
so
lot.
let's go back. You were talking about how and obviously iconic duel at the end of the Phantom Menace
160
there
is a
between
lot.
Obi-Wan, Maul, and Qui-Gon Jinn.
Mhm.
And he just kind of flows in combat. He's at first he's taking on Obi-Wan, then he's just going over here fighting Qui-Gon.
He kicks
fighting-
Obi-Wan real far off that ledge to just
Yeah.
fight Qui-Gon for a while.
Yep. So he's fighting them both. He's moving around in combat quite well.
Yeah, there are more, but
and that is reflected
still,
in
160
this really
is a lot.
amazing command card.
Yeah.
You
let's
got
see,
to
great
keep
name,
in mind that the
great
skirmish
art.
games
Duel of the
are
Fates.
500 points and the regular
where he-
battles are
he can-
800
he can
points,
move
if
around to
I'm not
different
starting
targets,
to remember
perhaps.
wrong.
He can do a lot of stuff with it.
This one has a keyword on here, which, for those who don't know, disengage means normally when two units are in melee combat, two trooper units, characters, are in melee combat, it's difficult for one to leave. But disengage means that if the character has that keyword, they can just freely move out of that combat. So because this card is about locking
me,
down an opponent,
Let me phrase it this
wanted
way,
to add
laughing
in
by
the ability
the
to
stuff
move out of, say,
seems to be
disadvantaged
good. Proof is in the
engagement
pudding when
into
it's
a
on the
better one.
table,
So say
and the
he's
presentation is
locked in
way better
combat
than
with
X-Wing
another
was,
Force user,
but
and that
that's
fight's not going as well.
not very
He could
hard
actually
standard to
instead
reach.
move into engagement with, I don't know, a bunch of clone troopers who really don't want to get into lightsaber combat
Yeah.
with Darth Maul.
They don't want to deal with 8 dice coming at them. Right?
Exactly. But this card is, Duel of the Fates is quite potent actually against Force users, though. That second part there, while Maul is engaged, and again, that's when two characters are in melee combat with an enemy unit, that unit cannot spend aim, dodge, standby, or surge.
I'm
tokens.
a bit worried
So,
on what they will
those tokens,
show
especially the
off
dodge
next,
tokens,
or
are really
curious
what Jedi
rather,
live
because
off of. That's how they
we're
improve their
40 minutes
defenses
in.
combat. That's how even
There's
sometimes
only
they can
one
damage back to
unit
other
left to
characters.
show
So
again.
Maul really
They already shown that was
basically
the
counters a key part of the Force users.
specialists
Sort of-
for the
this card gives you
separatists,
that sense of
and
him
they
as
have
a
no
duelist.
models for them on the table,
And
so I
the negating standby
wonder if
tokens
they
in there too
if
is
we'll
also
show
a
them.
direct counter to one of Obi-Wan's cards, where Obi-Wan, it's his hello there card. One of the things he can do is get a surge or a standby token in order to react to another unit coming in. He could use that, say, to hit back if someone engages him in melee. But this card of Maul's directly counters that. So again, we have Maul. Even though Obi-Wan does, in the end, get the better of Maul in that fight. For most of it, Maul has the upper hand. So that's represented there a little bit.
Yeah. And this also would shut down, any token sharing that the Republic has going on. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they can't spend their own tokens. Just say they cannot spend tokens.
Any at all,
so,
yeah.
yeah, for those people who are familiar with the clones, you know that they can share tokens amongst
Yeah,
each other.
clone
So it shuts that
clone
down.
token
Yeah.
sharing is a
Even
pest.
if Padme was nearby
Mhm.
and Obi-Wan wanted to use one of her tokens, he could not, right?
Right, yeah, and that's the exemplar keyword as well that we saw with Anakin. Padme has that too, and that's sort of a, along with the clone token sharing, there are characters that also share tokens. That's kind of a theme of the the Republic units, and this, you're right, shuts that down as well.
Very nice. Yeah. So he's going to be pretty nasty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Corey, let's turn to the sculpts again. Obviously, we have 3 sculpts for this guy. We have he has the lightsaber out in front of him, very reminiscent of, obviously iconic moment at the end of Phantom Menace. The doors open, he breaks out the lightsaber, lights it up. He has the lightsaber held behind him with the hand in front, and he also can do, I believe, we have the render up on the screen, or we did, 2 hands on the lightsaber. Tell us a little bit about coming up with the different sculpts from Maul here.
Yeah, so I mean, we knew we wanted to get some pose options in here so people could have different Mauls and try different things. But there was actually one that I started with, which was based off a key moment in that final room when he's fighting. It's actually from when he's fighting Obi-Wan right after killing Qui-Gon. And it's like where he does a little spin around, and he's got this nice whirlwind in his cloth, and that's, I believe, this one where he's got this back arm saber. And I just like loved that pose, and I really wanted to push the facial expressions as well. There's 2 facial expressions with him. And in that, like, in a lot of these moments when he's with Obi-Wan especially, he's just got that.
I'm curious if they will continue this trend of multi-pose in
I just felt like that
every
had such a
new
great
release.
little, like,
That would be a
just stop an
very
attack, about
pleasant
to whirlwind
surprise.
back in and just start just destroying things. And I really wanted to capture
and again
that.
would make the
Of course, the natural other option
diversity on
is the
table a
intense
lot
face.
better.
And of course, the intense face moment is what you just said when the
Yeah,
doors
nothing. I
open
think
and
so. Think so
he's
too.
got
It's
that
it's a
really,
nice
I'm not
model,
messing around.
Yeah, and so of course this is the natural.
and I
other
think
option.
Darth Maul was
But,
a
we wanted to get a nice
rather
two-handed
one of the
option there, too, and
nicer
thankfully, like, his
characters
poses
from
are
the
so open,
prequels,
they require
and
that
I was a bit
we
bummed
get
when
him
he
in there
got
without
cut in
getting
half.
too crazy with like, many parts reasons. Or
Right,
anything like
unlike
that.
Anakin.
Unlike
needing
Anakin, where it's an
multiple
extreme
Yeah,
forces.
of course you
pain.
can't have a
We were able to do
multiple
it pretty
options
easily,
on
so
Yoda.
quite
You can have him
open
with
poses.
with
He's
his
always
walking
just flowing.
cane or with a
And I love
lightsaber.
this one because it's reminiscent of the move he does where the door behind him's not open yet, and he does that point to something and then throws it right
Oh,
at the
yeah,
button to
yeah.
the door and then turns.
Yeah.
So he does,
He's got it
that's-
behind him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. So
It's very cool.
it was something I definitely wanted to capture. And
Yeah, I think it's like really cool how like Luke has been talking about, like how Maul, like he kind of flows in combat, right? And you like kind of see that in these sculpts. Obviously, you look at like his robes and they're flowing. They're not just kind of like
Yes, you are a
sitting
laughing
down
boy.
at his sides or anything
On
like that.
tournaments
You can kinda
or
tell that he's,
even on
his lightsaber
tournaments, you
just
can
moving
play
arbitrarily,
any
like,
faction
you look
against
at
any
these and it's
faction.
got a
There are no
specific
restrictions on that,
movement that's being emphasized here in his
which makes for
yeah,
sometimes
That kind of
really
spin,
weird
stop, spin,
encounters
whatever,
when
yeah.
one
And
Imperial army meets the other
definitely there's
Imperial
a couple
army,
moments
and
he
there are
does it,
two
but
Darth
there's
Vaders
key
on the
ones.
field, or Vader is fighting the Emperor.
So I'm actually being reminded in the chat here.
Is this about the pips?
Oh, well, yeah, we should talk about that. So that was a question that came up earlier. Obviously, in the spread there, Maul has 2 command cards that only have 1 pip on them.
Yeah, man, eagle eyes. Well, and again, I like these sneaky spreads where if you look close, you catch something. Yeah, so we revealed one of his 1 pips. He has another 1 pip.
Yes.
And now some people who, know Legion pretty well have commented, oh, maybe that's not so great because, then you have to somehow have another 3 pip. I guess you use a generic one and then the commanders. But no, his other 1 pip, and the reason we're not spoiling it is because it ties directly into his other mechanics and we want to wait for those. But I will say that his other 1 pip replaces a 3 pip. So similar to Han Solo's 0 pip card that says, while building your command hand, treat this as though it had 1 pip. Maul's other 1 pip says, while building your command hand, treat this as though it had 3 pips. So he actually has a 1 instead of a 3. So again, that's emphasizing just how eager he is and how aggressive he is and how he's the one initiating combat.
Yeah, he wants to get in there.
Oh, yeah.
He's not messing around.
Mhm.
Very cool. So we're running a little low on time. We only have 15 minutes left, and we do want to talk about the Separatist Specialist.
Yes.
Before we do that, we have got a little too caught up, perhaps, in how awesome Darth Maul is, and we have forgot to talk about his Sith probe droids.
Yeah.
So they're very cool as well. They are a detachment from him, correct?
Yep, so you have to field Maul in order to field the Sith probe droids. They're a Special Forces unit. You get 3 of them. I think we don't want to give a lot away about them because they're a good thing to reveal later in some preview articles.
Exactly, yeah.
But on our in-flight report, John Schaefer did mention that they utilize a brand new
They
token,
are
an
referring
observation
to
token.
those little
So this
buggers
is
as
something you're
probe
gonna see in
droids, but
other
I think
units
they
as
were
well,
just spying
coming
droids
up,
because the
such
probe
as the
droid had a
Viper
needle.
Recon droid and the special, the
Yes.
Separatist specialist, which we'll talk about. But it's a new type
Oh no,
of
that
token
was the
lets a unit sort of
interrogation droid.
hang back but
Oh, I'm
influence
wrong.
the battlefield. So
Yeah, so yeah, get some interesting new mechanics in there.
yeah.
Mhm.
But we should definitely talk about the sculpt because it's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah,
this
Corey, you
little
were
guy.
telling us a lot about the sculpt before the stream. Tell us a little bit more about the Sith Probe droid here.
Yeah, this is a fun. It's a little bit hard to see probably up there, but this is like, I actually I enjoy doing a lot of droids and stuff, and I enjoy when we get to do them because it's fun to try and capture
And he had three
all the,
of these
nuanced
leaving
shapes and
his
hard
ship,
surface stuff.
if
But
I remember
there's
correctly.
this, like, weird
So
little clamshell and just making
maybe
that
they should have made it
model
a swarm.
work and part well. Plus it's got like exposed wires and cameras, so just getting the all those little bits without having it to be a ton of parts or making it difficult. It's, like one of my big things and part of what I do is make sure stuff is fun to assemble, and that's one that I feel like is pretty fun to assemble for how crazy it looks in the end. It's hard to look at it and be like, how is this made?
Yeah.
Which is fun.
It's like a little puzzle.
Mhm.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool.
And so Maul is going to come with 3 of those guys,
Exactly.
if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
I also like
yeah,
this
look
new
for
way of
more
flight
on
stand they
Maul
have.
and his Sith Probe droids, obviously.
Just
in the
a
coming
little bit
months.
bent.
Yep.
On our website, we'll have preview articles for all of those. And just like all of our mini streams, I should take the time to say right now, the announcement article for all of these expansions is going to go up right after this stream. There's going to be a couple more spoilers in there. I believe I
Yeah.
have some upgrade cards in there, so be on the lookout for that. Let's move into our last expansion here.
Yeah.
The Separatist Specialist.
Last but not least.
Yes, last but not least. I know this is probably especially for Separatists because they're a faction that really relies on, hey, we're going to throw a lot of units at you.
Mhm.
They've
Yeah,
been waiting a
the
long
bases
time
aren't
for,
too
you know, to have
nice,
this
but
cheap generic
they work fine
commander.
for me because they
And
actually
the T-Series tactical
accommodate
droid,
very nicely a
that
big
comes in this
honking
expansion
washer
really kind of
from
helps out
the
Separatist
car
strategies
mechanics
in a lot of
sales,
ways.
so they are
Tell us a
very
little more about that.
hefty on the other
Yeah,
underside.
well, the Separatist faction is an army of extremes. You have the cheapest units in the game, and then you have some of the most expensive units in the game. So it helps on both fronts too. It can help you have a horde army, or it can help you like have the budget.
The
for
Legion
some of those more
players,
expensive
for
units.
those who
And
have
especially
maybe
with
not
Maul
followed the
coming out,
rest,
we already have Padme
were
as
a
an
bit
operative, but,
pissed
they're
off
not leading the army, so
because
you still need a character.
this
And
release
a
was
T-series tactical
really,
droid
really
can stand
wanted
in
by
as
the
standard army,
community,
save you some points,
and
but you have an operative and
yeah,
still devote points to
Armada is
core
getting one
units
of these
and some
command
special
droids
forces,
before
Very
Legion.
cool, yeah. So one of the things that also, in
And
addition
somehow
to,
this
I mean, obviously,
pissed off some
the big
people. I don't know
exciting
why.
thing is this
Armada has
T-Series
been
tactical droid.
Yeah,
but there's some cool
long
stuff
time
with
around.
The actual specialists. Unfortunately, we don't have any
Well.
of the minis for these guys, but you get a little bit difference here. In the other ones, we had obviously the engineer, the commander,
The pseudo medical
the
droid on
medic,
the left looks a bit
and
like a
the,
DJ to me,
comms tech,
with his
right?
turntables
We don't
and a keyboard in front of him.
those exactly
Well,
in this expansion.
Droids don't need a comms tech.
Exactly,
They already
yeah.
got that stuff built in. So they get another little droid, the Viper Recon droid, which looks amazing. I love his 2 little leg options. He's got the hanging down. He's got the little like floaty.
Couple leg options.
He is going to use those observation tokens I talked about before. So similar to the other specialist upgrades, he'll slot into a unit. He's not going to. Well, he actually can attack, I should say. He's not a non-combatant. But that's not his primary role. His primary role is going to be influencing the battle with those tokens.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
another way for the Separatists to
The
get
one
the
on the
observation tokens,
right backside
in
looks
addition to Maul.
weird.
we're gonna
Mhm.
I
have-
haven't
yeah,
seen
so,
that
alright,
model
so We're
before.
going to see observation.
Yeah,
couple
not a
different
lot,
places,
but
yeah.
we're going to sprinkle it in for the kind of units that make sense to be using it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know that was something in designing this wave. I mean, knew there was going to be those 2 droids like that, and there's going to be droids like that in the future. There's a lot of, you know, sort of spy droids in Star Wars, and it seemed like a natural sort of token to introduce into the game
Okay, yeah. So
to give those droids something to do.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, obviously they seem like, you know, they're a very integral part of armies and things in the Star Wars galaxy. So, yeah, very cool. We already talked about the T-Series tactical droid. you want to talk about a Separatist command card?
Yeah,
perhaps?
let's throw a command card up on
All
screen.
right. So obviously the Separatists, we showed the synchronized offensive for the Republic that involved a vehicle. Obviously the Separatists also use a lot of vehicles.
They
I mean,
do.
the AAT tank probably being
I
the most
actually
iconic, but they have
think I've
a few others. I'll try and get
have
them all
any
this time.
visuals on
We got
that
the droidicas
right
from the
now.
core
Yep, they
set.
are technically a vehicle.
Yep.
Bunny rabbit
And we have
clone.
the Snap
Do you have a
Riders that
picture
are
of
coming
that?
out
Mm-hmm.
very soon.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay, yeah. I didn't miss anything this time.
One
All right.
heavy and 2 support units. Yep.
Yep. So we have Mechanized Incursion.
Yeah.
Which is the Separatist only. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, if you can cast your mind back to just a few minutes ago, this is almost exactly the same text as the Republic card that we saw, Synchronized Offensive. Obviously, it says Separatist only, and it says Droid Trooper instead of Clone Trooper. But it has the same effect, that after you give a friendly unit an order token, then you choose a friendly Droid Trooper in this case.
Ah, that
and
one,
give,
yes.
that
I've
unit
seen
an order.
that.
Now, even though the effects are exactly the same,
Yeah,
it does
that
totally
could be
different
a
things
nice
with the
side piece or some
which is kind of cool.
sorts.
As I said, the clone one lets you set up that fire support shot because of the clone's fire support ability. The
At the very
mechanized
start,
version,
Loving
though,
Boy,
for a
Legion
Separatist
players
army, droid
used a lot
troopers,
of
clone troopers,
Imperial
most of them have the
Assault
coordinate
miniatures
ability,
to
which lets them
just sprinkle on the
daisy chain and
battlefield,
pass order
which
tokens
looked very nice
along
in
to
some
the whole army
cases.
because they're sort of networked
But that
like
somehow stopped.
So what this does is
Wow,
normally
for
with a
whatever
one pip,
reason.
you can only give an order
Maybe
to one
because
unit,
it's hard to
especially
get
like a character's one pip, like
these
Count Dooku.
miniatures
You're only
at
gonna
the
give an
moment.
order to him or Grievous's. And Separatist players know, they're well aware, you have those dud turns, those one pip turns where the droids don't get any orders.
Scale would only
And,
matter
then they have to just
for
work off of that
playing.
AI
If you
because they're
put a
not being
droid
told what to
somewhere
do, and
in
they
a
play
in a
subpar.
bunker or
However, this is a one
Imperial
pip, but if
officer
you have a
in
vehicle,
some
you
sort
can
of
actually
trench,
hit that
it doesn't really
vehicle
matter
and then
that much.
Start that daisy chain. So with a one pip, it still gives you.
As long as you
in
don't
some
use the
cases, total
ATSD
control
from
of the
Imperial
army.
Assault, the
And
scale
it's
isn't
especially
that
good
bad
with
for
the Staff
most
Riders, as you see
miniatures.
Yep.
Human
because
scales.
those are vehicles that have the coordinate keyword. So again, almost identical text, but a totally different effect for the faction that it's in.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
seems
it's cool
like-
stuff.
Yeah, it's like you guys planned it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's like a lot of applications for that with Separatists, though. Especially if you have, a big like AAT tank or.
Yeah, you want that thing to have an order.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially on like a turn that you want to go first. That's the thing you want to give an order to. But then you're like, oh darn, none of my droids don't know what to do.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking about, I really like droidicas with like linked targeting array.
Mhm,
And
yep.
if you really want to get them that like aim token, you can order them and you can give them an order, and then they can just hit some battle droids. And
Yep, absolutely, and
you're in
start that
business.
chain. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that seems like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And we have, just to go back, just to answer some questions, the T-Series Tactical Droid Commander version,
Mhm.
also 55 points.
I
Also
don't
55
think
points.
that
And
they
what's
will
funny
announce
is,
another starter with
They
Kylo
have
and
the same
Ren.
abilities. The clone one and the clone commander and the
I
T-Series
think that would
droid have the same abilities.
saturate the market
stats on the
fast.
T-Series are garbage. Clones are really good. T-Series.
They
not
they
much of a
now
fighter.
have
He's got
a
bad
year
saves, he's got bad
to
attack,
fill the
but
ranks on the
keywords
Clone
that they
Wars
have
set,
that
and
we
then
are not
they
going to tell you what
need
they are
to
yet, are
put
so
something
much
back
better
in
on the,
for Empire and
droid
Rebel
that
players,
cost the same points.
because
Yeah,
they
so
are
they
currently
can do
being
stuff that
left
might
in the
help
dark.
with Separatist strategies,
Mhm,
perhaps. Yeah.
mhm.
All right. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
There we go. So again, we don't have the actual production copies of the minis for this
They do
expansion.
exist.
They
They
do
exist.
exist.
There's no delay or
Yes.
anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
We
no,
just-
yeah. But well, we do have the renders up on the screen, or we did earlier. Corey, tell us a little about those. I mean, so these droids are all. I feel like obviously with the Separatists, you have a lot of like uniform droids, like B1 battle droids. So like they all look the same, B2s, things like that. In this pack, you're getting 4 completely different droids.
Totally different, yeah. No, that was something that's something that's actually kind of cool about the Separatist pack, especially. And it's like with the clones, you have like 4 clones. They
The
all have to
droid
have
is
different
on
gear
a
to, like,
different
feel
scale,
different.
a
Those
different
droids,
pose
you have
too.
so much,
Both of
so
them.
more like just unique, specific ones. Like there's that medic who's just crazy, like he's just bonkers.
Yep.
And like all droids, it's a lot easier to get like a little bit of posability without making them difficult to assemble. So you have like some arm movement. You got those, so you got some options, including the T-Series has like a head that's on a ball and can rotate around. But yeah, what's really fun about all of them is that like each of them has like their own kind of quirky thing. like is it the PK? I always
Yeah,
forget
the
darn
PK
name.
worker droid.
PK worker droid, and he's got like a little B1 hat.
Yeah, I
in his
love that,
hands.
yeah.
Which was like I think it was an art piece.
Yeah, it was Max Brook from X-Wing.
Yeah,
wrote
that's
an
like-
art piece that we liked. That was doing that.
Yeah, I was like, yes, we should do this because he had tiny hands, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how are we gonna make those in plastic? Put something in.
Yeah, have him hold some.
But yeah, I think each of them kind of has something unique. Like Luke said, the Viper droid has 2 leg options, like a flying forward, one with his legs dangling behind, and one that's just kind of floating there, just doing the classic like beginning of Hoth kind of larger, but still a recon droid, just like scooting real slow. So I
That's a
really
cute
like it
one.
because I like what I want to do all the time is like get more shapes and stuff until you do it. I like when you look at the table and there's just some more variety here and there, little pockets of like really interesting silhouettes, and it's like stuff like dark droids and stuff like these are just immediately adding that to the separatist faction as well as just looking cool on the table. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and all those little droids are canon too. They're
Yeah, it's
from-
all canon. Yeah, people don't know where that.
Let's see
Yeah,
what
where's that UK droid?
questions
Yeah,
will
do
be
your
in
research.
stock.
Go watch episode
Phantom
1.
Menace, kids.
Yeah, like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Very nice, yeah. I know it's really cool. I do just love. He's just got the little B1 head.
Yeah, they
I'm
upped
gonna
the
fix
price
this
a
guy.
bit. I
Right,
think
yeah.
the
Gonna bring it
special
back.
expansion
So we're running a little low
for
on time.
Empire
I do want to
and
address
Rebellion
one
were
question.
$25.95 each.
So Luke, obviously we've had a few releases.
January
We've had,
2021.
Cad Bane.
Do
we've
we
got some
hold
releases
them
coming
to
up.
that?
And I believe you've told me about upcoming update to the rules reference, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah. We'll have. That was just a little bit delayed. Working from home, trying to do a lot of things at once. That'll be up soon, and I think later this year, perhaps a little later than it dropped last year, but still this year, we're going to have some points changes in errata. So again, later this year, you can expect that. But yep. Do we want to give a little hint to some
I
of our
believe. Yeah, we were talking about giving a little hint.
So, one of the things we're definitely prioritizing right now is increasing the options for these 2 new factions. But we're not forgetting about our Rebel and Imperial
That's right.
players.
We
So
still have
this is
Galactic
just-
Civil War.
this
Yep.
is just a little hint to tell you that after these units come out, so Anakin, Maul, and the 2 specialist packs, the next 4 units are going to be Rebel and Imperial units.
That's right.
Some things I'm really excited
Yeah,
about.
but that's still only in
Yeah,
2021?
exactly. 2
That's a long
I
shot.
would say highly requested characters
Yes.
included in those. One thing that is going to be interesting is it's canon. We didn't make it up, but I've never seen a single person guess that it would be in Legion. I mean, you know what one I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I think so
2
too, yeah.
requested
But I mean,
people
these
from
are
the
sort of
ways out
original
there, so we don't wanna
trilogy.
reveal
What
Exactly, yeah,
could
we
be
don't-
that's
wanna let
not
you Rebel and
already
Imperial
there?
players know you're not forgotten.
Yes.
All right.
Very cool stuff.
So I think, yep, that's probably a good time to start wrapping things up. We had actually a lot of questions in the chat about Inferno Squad.
Oh, they're coming.
Yep, they are coming. Look for actually the preview article
Akbar,
for Inferno
yeah, that's a
Squad this upcoming
probability.
week
Nice.
on Wednesday. That will be
Though as a
posted
fleet
on our website,
admiral
so
on
look for that
ground
then.
is a bit...
Inferno Squad and Clan Ren
Thrawn
are
is not
releasing
part
at the
of
end
the original
August. If I remember
trilogy,
the date
but
correctly, it's August
could be
28th.
added to the
I
Imperials.
think that is updated on our upcoming page. I just went through earlier this week and updated all of those. Shortly after that, we are going to have the Republic ATRT, the Staff Riders. What are the other 2 that I'm missing from there?
I think that covers it.
Those are coming in early September. And then you can expect Anakin and Maul in November, I believe. And then the Specialists, look for those in stores in January. So there you have it, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's been an honor, I feel like, being on the GenCon main stage. So
yeah.
Thank you for joining us, everybody at home. Luke and Corey, thank you for being here. It was awesome. I'm super excited for all of these expansions. Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. And we are still coming at you with a few more live streams tomorrow. You can check out the rest of our schedule just below the stream on Twitch currently. So thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you
No,
next
not
time.
on the current stream, just on the Fantasy Flight one. Yes, so nothing really new, but the stream itself was a bit better. I I'm pretty excited for anything new that will be around then next year. Until then, I really like the thought of a Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Maul diorama. Maybe I'm going to do that. With that said, everybody who has been here, thank you very much. You made this much more bearable. I know these streams can go on if the moderator, that includes me, isn't up to snuff. I'm going to bed now. I wish you all a very good night, and I will meet you again tomorrow in the OTT Discord. Taddy bye!